because as much as you legislate for us, it would be important that we also seek your views on quite a number of issues that could have important bearing on our foreign policy and on our security issues as we go forward, because this is not a static position. These are always emerging issues. Sometimes, as we sit here, for instance, the impact of the tariffs wars have serious implications, and we need to exchange views on these kind of things. We have seen aid cut substantially in very critical areas like health, and these will have implications on the citizens of this country. So it will be important that we work very closely together. And let me put it that from today you will see a change in how we engage. And I will also talk to my team so that the areas of where we need information from another ministry, if it has been channeled through us, we should not assume that if a letter has been dropped to the other ministry to say this is about you to respond, we must have a deliberate follow-up to make sure that the question, the response is properly weaved, because I cannot come to the Senate and pass the buck. It would be better if a colleague minister would be saying that we will refer this matter to the Prime Cabinet Secretary for a conclusive response, rather than me saying, as the Prime Cabinet Secretary, I'm referring it back to. So these are issues that we will sort out. So let me put it that indeed I am busy, Honorable Sifuna, Senator. I am busy, no doubt about it, but I'm not too busy to avoid Parliament. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Prime Cabinet Secretary. Members, any intervention? It's open now. We open the session now for any clarification, questions.
Open, yeah, it's now open. My issue is general. It's just a concern we have received from a number of our citizens on the rising fee on visa applications, especially students traveling to various countries. The fees are a bit exorbitant. Prime Cabinet Secretary, I think students from Nyamira, Kisii, and I believe other parts traveling abroad are paying over $25,000 to travel to the US. I don't know whether the ministry can have a discussion with your counterpart from the foreign embassies, including the US, to make the fees resonate with our economy. You know, $185 may seem little money to the US government, but to us is a lot. If you drive through the American embassy, you will see the long queue of students seeking opportunities to go and study out of the country. I don't know whether, I mean, as a government that should get concerned with the suffering of its people, whether there is a way you can intervene and make visa fee to be reasonable and fair to Kenyans. Number two, I have a case of a Kenyan investor in Burundi called Evans Motari Maragia, who was arrested in 2024 in Burundi, who has run a number of media campaigns to seek assistance from the government of Kenya. This is just an investor who went to Burundi. When he was leaving the country, he was told he's leaving. He has kind of interfered with the running of a university they were running in Burundi. And he has made several appeals and petitions for the government of Kenya to intervene and assist. Prime Cabinet Secretary, can you see through the embassy whether there is a way you can assist that Kenyan who moved to Burundi as an investor, but who has found himself in some trouble? Thank you.
Yeah, just to pick up where Senator Mogeni has left, Prime CS, in fact, I had reached out to the Department on Diaspora Affairs on that question of Maragia, that gentleman in Burundi, on the 14th of January. And up to date, we haven't received any feedback. But about 6 months ago, you appeared before the Senate, Prime CS, when we were having a conversation about the situation in our embassies in the US. If you remember, you gave certain undertakings on staffing, the levels of staffing in our embassy in Washington, the situation about the slow processing of identity cards for Kenyans who are living in the US, the inadequacy of staff in the 2 consulates in Los Angeles and in New York. So maybe you can start by giving an update on that. Secondly, Honorable PS, we Kenyans get shocked every time there are pronouncements on serious foreign policy positions by your government. We are a product as Kenyans of a struggle for liberation and for nationhood that has fashioned many of us to be believers in the freedom of every people to determine themselves. So it surprises some of us when you take positions that are contrary to that long-held position that we should support anybody who's seeking to be free, so that your position on Taiwan, your position on Palestine is a bit surprising. What is the guiding star for us as a country when we got ourselves involved in taking sides in those long-standing conflicts for independence of certain countries? And then lastly, there's a question of deployment of non-career diplomats in foreign missions, Honorable CS. This is a matter of grave concern because of the nature of the engagements, and I'm sure you've seen the jokes doing around about your visit to Rome. I don't want to go into them. I'm sure you've seen them. Because of the nature of foreign engagement, people are asking whether the people that we second to these foreign missions to run our foreign affairs should be the caliber of retired politicians and the others, that our foreign missions are dumping grounds for non-professional diplomats, if I might use that. And what is the government position on this, whether you have received those concerns from Kenyans and whether you're willing to do anything about it, whether you think the men and women that we are sending to these foreign missions are up to the task?
Senator Lelegwe.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to seek clarification from the Cabinet Secretary on failures by the Ministry to make the scholarships that are available in the Ministry public, and also the criteria they use in selecting these scholarship beneficiaries, and whether they publicize these beneficiaries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just one or two from me, Cabinet Secretary. Now, I really wanted to know whether you have a structure of movement of the scholarships from the mission to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and then to Ministry of Education, because that is where there is a bit of complaint that it's not actually reaching the right people. That is number one. Number two, there are so many opportunities that are there outside on international agreements, treaties and obligations. Some of them, they take too long actually for it to come from the missions and to the ministries. So it's good also to have a proper structure in place so that as soon as it lands, then somebody, or maybe there's a structure in place to take care of that. Now, the other point I wanted to raise is this labor outside, especially Middle East. We've been really crying about Kenyans being mistreated out there. We have tried to deal with the issues over the agents. I don't know what is the current status, so that we stop actually Kenyans losing their lives abroad, and again open more opportunities outside there. So what is the current status? Have you managed to actually ensure that the policies we have are very strict, procedures are followed, the right people are licensed to be able to recruit those who are looking for opportunities? Those are the few comments that I wanted to make. Finally, the issue of globalization and nationalism. Is it affecting our foreign policies abroad? I thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you. One of the things we'll do with my team here, I think we'll do a very nice comprehensive report to help in responding to some of these questions. Now, first of all, let me deal with the first one. Kenya's position with respect to China is that we have adopted a one China policy. And that is the partnership that we've had with China ever since, and therefore we do not recognize Taiwan as an independent nation. We believe in a one China policy, and that's the principle that has been guiding us, not just now, but to the best of my knowledge, each successive government has maintained the one China policy, and it is in our strategic interest that we maintain the one China policy. The other thing that I would then touch on is I do agree that the issue of staffing and to what extent we support career diplomats has been a major issue for us. And we have now integrated it in the sessional paper to guide that we would prefer a situation where, to maintain proper professionalism, the ratio of the diplomats should be officers who have trained and grown in the system to the ratio of 70%, and about 30% can be external infusion, because again, there's always some merit in injecting a few experienced people into the diplomatic system. You cannot be continuously incestuous, but the ratio we propose, and it is in the sessional paper, is 70 internal and 30 external. So we have now put this and built it into our policy so that it's no longer ambiguous. It now becomes public knowledge that that is the position. And it is our desire that this will now guide future nominations or appointments to the diplomatic service. We have also been grappling with underfunding of our various diplomatic missions. This is a fact because we have been going through fairly difficult physical positions as a country. And under the circumstances, the resource flows or budgetary allocation to some of our missions has been inadequate to the extent that sometimes some of the officials are put in embarrassing situations. So we intend to correct that. And one of the things that we have proposed and the cabinet did approve and the government of Kenya did approve is that whereas the budgeting process was placing matters of foreign affairs, and diplomacy in the normal administrative processes, it should have been squarely within the security sector, because constitutionally matters of foreign are actually in the National Security Council. So we have now corrected that so that future budgeting processes will be in the context that matters diplomacy and foreign affairs. This is the first line of defense, actually. In fact, that's why we are in the same committee of intelligence, security, and so forth. We want to be within that category, and this way it gives an opportunity for higher ceilings within the budgetary framework, and it also reduces the possibility of arbitrarily budget cuts which seriously impair foreign operations. Once you're out there, there's no way you can say that your neighbor will bail you out. Once you're out there, literally, it's you and your country. And therefore we must make sure that the resource allocation to our missions is appropriate so that we don't put them in trouble. In fact, it can be a national security risk if you are to go deeper into it. Because if your diplomats are underfunded, there could be temptations. And in the process, very delicate information that could be of national security concern could be compromised. So these are areas that we have taken into account. And that speaks to the consular, our consulates as well, like in the US and other places. We have been stepping up our mobile consular services to try and help in accelerating the issuance of critical documentation for Kenyan citizens in different parts of the country. The US, Europe, and even the Middle East and other areas. This is an ongoing issue, subject to budgetary resources being available. We then plan for that through the Department of Diaspora. And we also work in collaboration with the Ministry of Labor. I want to assure the committee that we do not want to make foreign affairs a dumping ground. We would like to put our best foot forward in these countries as we are represented by Kenyans in various stations. And I just want to assure you that in Italy, the ambassador in Italy and the ambassador responsible for the Vatican, who is based in Paris, these are career diplomats. So the whole issue of somebody giving an impression that they are politicians is false information. They're career diplomats, and I was there physically, and I can tell you a lot of what is being bandied around is just people satisfying their own imagination. There was nothing like that. In fact, Madam Chair, I think there was a member of Parliament somewhere who was talking of candles having been lit and given to the leaders, and then the candles went off. It was in broad daylight. You don't need candles in broad daylight, and no candles were lit. No head of state had candles. And in fact, it would be a security threat if you are lighting fire where there are all those heads of state. So it is a figment of somebody's imagination for their own purpose. And all I can say is that the Pope's event, farewell, was an honorable, dignified process, very orderly. The Catholic Church programmers they had very clearly put order to how you come in. If it was a head of state, it was one head of state plus 4. That means they were not allowing anybody beyond that. And the people ushering in people were either at the level of cardinals or archbishops or bishops. So each delegation would be assigned one of those to usher you to where you sit. And so it was very orderly, and we want to respect the Catholic Church for a very presentable occasion. In fact, it would be unfortunate for Kenyans to try and belittle a process of this nature where the Pope was being given a dignified send-off. But the Honourable Senator has brought it to my attention, at least. I hope I've corrected this image that was doing the rounds from another quarter. I know it was not him. It was from another quarter.
Just on that issue, Prime Cabinet Secretary, the initial announcement was that Kenya was going to be represented by the head of parliament, the Honorable Speaker Wetangula. Was that information correct, or how did it happen that in the end our head of state was also present there?
The head of state was on a state visit to China, and one of the challenges was to process and finish the engagements of the state visit on time to be able to be in the Vatican. So the precaution was that in the event that the logistics would become a problem, then there was a plan B. Okay, but the president made it out of his engagements there, and I think we are covered in the sense that he represented the country at the funeral service. The data around universities, as I said, will share information. I have been very outspoken. My officers are here, and they know very well that one of the things that I really spoke to was exactly what the members are raising today, that we need to bring transparency to the scholarships that Kenya obtains from friendly countries. It's only right that we know what has been availed, and we also make available the processes. Even if we look at it from a context of maybe being able to bond the students to work for Kenya for some time as a way of paying back, we need to have proper records, and we need to show that every part of Kenya gets an equal opportunity when it comes to scholarships. And I was telling them that it would be very sad if we woke up one day and you found that Honorable Mudavadi, as Minister for Foreign Affairs, has just dished out scholarships to his village in Mululu. It would be wrong to the entire nation. So this is something that I've been very passionate about, that we need to be more transparent. And as I said, we will be sharing this information. And transparency helps. So even as we go forward, these are issues that we can make clear with a template that can allow everybody to know who are the beneficiaries, even the names. This is something that should not be, it's not a military secret. This is something that should be within the public domain. I take the position of the treaties also very important, that they should also be made public after Parliament has processed. We are in the process of going digital on this so that one can access the portal and be able to know what treaties or what MOUs have been signed by Kenya and different countries. And then on the basis of that, if people want to engage within a framework of either investment or business, they can look at the kind of MOUs that exist between us and some of those nations. We have the Middle East issue and the question of the labor migration issues. This continues to be thorny, to be honest. Even as late as today in the other forum I was in, some of these issues still come to fore. That there's, in some instances, we have unscrupulous agents who mislead Kenyans, who even take away money from Kenyans and leave them high and dry in very difficult circumstances. Both the Ministry of Labor and the Department of Diaspora have been aggressively campaigning on this and also helping people to know the institutions that are credible. We are also working closely with the other law enforcement agencies where sufficient evidence has been gathered on some of these unscrupulous fellows. There's no option but to have them prosecuted so that they can stop endangering the lives of Kenyans. And there are some areas that we need to continuously working together to caution Kenyans that there are some areas that are literally a no-go zone. Without naming countries, but the regions where human trafficking is rampant, the regions where people can land into a situation where they literally become slaves there, and in very extreme circumstances, some of them could lose their body parts. So it's a very serious issue. But I can tell you the campaign has got to be wholesome at parliamentary level, at executive level, so that the awareness is brought to bear to the citizens, because sometimes when you tell somebody that don't go there, they tell you that you are frustrating their opportunities. But in reality, maybe you're trying to save them, and it becomes a problem. So there's work to be done there. Let me note. Madam Chair, we have the issue of globalization. This is real. And positions are being taken, even within the immigration issue. Honorable Mugeni has raised some fundamental issues. We may not, if I sat here and I said I can control or determine the fee charged by other countries, it may not be accurate. We can perhaps negotiate and indicate that it is high, but those countries have the sole responsibility of determining what they charge. But we now must become alive to the fact that the whole idea of mobility, labor mobility, migration, is a very sensitive issue. We saw recently a neighboring country here in our region where one person who was repatriated, and because there was some misunderstanding, then the whole nation suffered as a consequence. So we have to be alive to the fact that the global order has changed on some of these issues, and we need to bring it again again to fore and navigate on how best we can protect Kenyan interests in this new and emerging landscape. I don't know whether I've missed out something. If I have, the Kenyan in Burundi. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Luckily, I believe we have the minister is in town for JCC. I think we're meeting tomorrow, is it? Tomorrow morning. So I'll have an opportunity to have a conversation on this particular issue. And then just breaking away from this, because the circumstances here are very different and each area has its unique circumstance. When I look at the committee, I'm also looking at lawyers in front of me. One of the challenges, and it's our society now, is that we need to remind Kenyans that once your wheel's up, you've boarded a plane and it has taken off from JKIA. The moment it touches the ground in whatever country, the laws that apply are not Kenyan laws. It's the laws of the country that you have landed in. And we need to get our young people to really appreciate this. If we leave it loose, if we don't communicate effectively, we could lose many more young people to very difficult circumstances in different countries. That's one. Two, we also need to remember, as we protect Kenyans, Parliament has not given us an allocation to literally take over the legal challenges of all Kenyans where they have gone. It's not possible for any country. You can intervene occasionally on certain circumstances, but we need to know that the biggest thing for us is to have a process where Kenyans become aware of the dangers. As we speak, Madam Chair, there are over 1,000 Kenyans incarcerated in different countries for different offenses. And here in Kenya, we also have non-Kenyans from different countries who are also incarcerated here for different offenses. Some from Europe, some from the continent, some from Asia. So it is an issue that we need to tackle, and this is the right committee to really find a way of bringing awareness to this particular issue, because we could be falling into the trap of people imagining that somebody gets a traffic offense, it becomes the responsibility of the government of Kenya. Somebody gets involved in a brawl in a nightclub in the United States, and they make it look like it's a Kenyan government problem, and vice versa. So we need to find a way of communicating this. And I say so because the demographics we have is that 70% of our people are young, 35 years and below. And these are the people who are likely to be traveling. These are the people who are likely to be looking for opportunities outside. And these are the people who are still vibrant and want to adventure at the same time. So we will need, as part of the collaboration, I'm also putting this to you that let's see what we can do together on some of these challenges. Asante sana.
Chair, I think the PCS has missed out on the question of staffing of the embassies in the US because last time when we had the engagement in Parliament, you had indicated that there were certain steps that were being taken to enhance the capacity there. The US is a major partner. When I was there in August, we had only one trade attaché, and were being compared to the embassy of Vietnam. They had 4 just for agriculture. So I wanted you to address that, and there was also controversy as to whether our ambassador had reported at the time you appeared 6 months ago in the Senate. And the question that was also put to you, you can touch on it, on why since Burudi Nabuera in 1963 until today you have never seen it fit to post a woman to Washington. So just on that issue in Washington.
On Washington.
Just in addition,
Yes.
Senator Kamau.
Okay.
Senator Kamau, are you there? They dropped. Okay.
Okay.
Just maybe one intervention, CS. Now, I visited Brussels one time, and they have a very good network of diaspora on the issues of welfare. And they used to encourage Kenyans who are living in Brussels to do registration. I don't know whether, of course it is hard to know who comes in and who goes out, but it's a very good culture where I realize they are also supporting each other whenever there are challenges, contributing to each other's welfare and all that. Is it possible to inculcate that culture within our, embassies, and also for those who are actually leaving the country, they should be encouraged to register with embassies. It will be easier to coordinate all these challenges. I thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On that one, I agree with you fully. Really, I have nothing more to add. We just have to follow that template, and it will really help in bringing better cohesion. The Diaspora Department is attempting to improve on that, but the direction you're pointing is the right direction. The staffing in the U.S., now we have the ambassador substantive ambassador is in place, Ambassador Kerich, and his staff complement has been reinforced, and we continue to do so. Part of it, as I indicated earlier, was also a budgetary issue in terms of making sure that you have the resources because our financial processes are extremely rigid. Following the Public Finance Management Act and ensuring that your drawdown is in accordance with the regulations, they are very rigid, but we are continuing to improve on that, and we are going to strengthen the areas that we might say we can wait, a waiting system to see the level of engagement between Kenya and that country determines the staffing levels in those countries. So it's work in progress. As to why we have not had a female ambassador, I have listened, and I will convey this message to the nominating authority so that in the next cycle that can be a consideration. But we have right now, if I pick up what you might call some of the critical stations, in Paris there's a lady, in the UK there's a lady, In Canada, there's a lady. In Geneva, there's a lady. And in Bern, Switzerland, there's a lady. In Morocco. So we, any more? But there are quite a number. But yeah. So it's not as bad as it looks. In fact, the men are under threat, so to speak.
Senator Sifuna, you wanted to add something?
Chair, it's just that when you visit the embassy in Washington, it really looks bad that they have a wall of portraits of all our ambassadors from Nabuera to, I think by that time, the last one was Githai, I saw on the wall. It doesn't look very neat, but I'm happy with the answer you've given. Now, Chair, just finally on some of the things that the CS has said. CS, I understand that constitutionally, all this policy, including foreign policy, when you're making them under Article 10, you're required to subject these things to public participation. I am not very sure that you have subjected that position you've taken on China to public participation in terms of whether it's a moral decision or a purely commercial decision. And it will be very interesting to know, because it needs to be uniformity in our approach. You didn't say anything about whether we as a country support a two-state solution, say in Palestine, and why it would be different for Palestinians and not for the Taiwanese, and why strategic ambiguity that is adopted by other countries is not an option for us. I mean, some of these things we don't need to get ourselves involved. These are complex global disputes that you can just say because some of us feel morally that we should support any people trying to liberate themselves. This was us just 60 years ago. Imagine if they were saying we support one Africa under the British. You know, it would not sit very well with us. So is it a moral decision or is a purely commercial decision, and is it the same for Palestine?
Apparently, when the sessional paper comes to you, you'll realize that we have also stated clearly and categorically that we believe in a two-state solution. So we are very deliberate on this. So there's no way we are being ambiguous on this. In fact, it's one of the things that I wanted Kenyans to really appreciate. What are the strategic national interests that we really have to pronounce ourselves on? And one is that particular issue of the two-state solution. It's in conformity with the UN resolutions, and that is what we support. The issue of the one China policy, it is also of strategic national interest to the people of Kenya. If one was to look at it critically, China recognized Kenya's independence more than 60 years ago. In fact, it was about the fourth country to recognize Kenya as an independent state. And we've had solid partnerships, serious programs between us of mutual interest continue to go on. The SGR, which we want to push all the way to the Malaba border. We are looking at the Mao Summit Road, which we want to push all the way again to the border because of the economic importance of this as an artery in this particular situation. We have to look at our strategic interests. Clearly, I don't see us having done any other anything that is wrong, and many countries have adopted this. So I think it's in our interest to be able to make it clear to the Kenyan people where we stand, so that there's a distinction between where the country stands and where a Kenyan may have his personal choice. That is the thing that we want to be very, very clear about when we go forward. Kenya's policy is a one China policy. But if there are Kenyan individuals who have a different position, then that is personal to them. But it is not the official position of the government of Kenya.
Yeah, done. One final concern, CS, on the issue of office space abroad. I know we are not doing very well as a country, and that is because we are renting most of our offices. I have seen what you have done in Geneva. Very beautiful office. I don't know how you managed to have that office. New York, you have the Kenyatta. Is it called the Kenyatta building or Kenyatta House? I don't know. I don't know whether it has been sold.
Kenya House.
Kenya House.
Yes.
It was built in the bundles of New York. One time I heard it was going to be sold. I don't know whether you have sold it. But my concern is, I remember one time Mutahi Kagwe brought a motion in the House concerning whether the money that you are given or whether the money you are paying for rent can be used for mortgage, because we are really spending a lot of money. And I'm sure a chunk of your budget goes to housing or rather office space. Do you have plans of seeing how you can acquire office space abroad? I know it's expensive, but that is a very good initiative by Senator then Mutahi Kagwe, who is your colleague in the cabinet now, to see how we can acquire office space abroad. So what plans do you have as far as that is concerned? I thank you.
Thank you. It is indeed that we have a policy now to look at how to grow our assets abroad. And it's in the policy document that we'll share with you, where we can use both the exchequer and where we can also have public-private partnerships. I say so because if you go to Upper Hill today, and I was a guest of honor, the then Minister for Foreign Affairs of Tanzania came and we jointly broke ground where the pension fund, Tanzania Pension Fund, is putting up a 22-story building at Upper Hill, which will house the Tanzanian embassy, but will also be available as a revenue-generating asset for the government of Tanzania, so that they can lease the rest of the space they don't need, and with that they can manage their matters. And we have seen this for quite a number of countries. Uganda, for instance, has got quite a prime building in New York, just not too far from the UN headquarters. They also have a very big building in the Trafalgar Square. They call it Uganda House. And even here in Nairobi, you can see they have some assets here, just the way we have a few. So we have a plan to be able to start making serious investment proposals for the assets that we have, so that we can maximize on the returns and draw A&A, which can then help in funding our missions more robustly as we go into the future. Just to go back a little bit, why it is also important, if I may just really help in what Sifuna was raising. It's very important because this is some strategic positions which have of national interest. we believe it's important to always have an official Kenya position on some of these very critical areas, so that we don't send mixed signals on very clear, on very strategic areas. And I know, for instance, there are some people who were pushing to have a delegation from Parliament to go to Taiwan when the President of Kenya is visiting China for a state visit. You see, looking at it, that would have been a provocative action, and it could have cost the country dearly. So there are certain things that we need to be alive to, because they can have serious and devastating implications on the broader welfare of the country. Thank you.
Chair, just what my final comments on these things. First, Waziri, I want to commit that we will help in educating Kenyans who travel to be of the best behavior, but you will agree with me that a vast majority of the people who live this country are peace-loving and law-abiding citizens. They did not leave Kenya as criminals themselves. They did not commit crimes here. They go there to look for better lives for themselves and for their families. And sometimes misfortune finds you. I had a friend called Marianne. She was bludgeoned to death in London just recently. I myself was deported from Angola just a few weeks ago. I had my papers correct. I had the visa. I arrived at the airport, and I must say that your ambassador there, Joyce Maiti, she was very supportive. She came to the airport herself, although I didn't even get a chance to wave at her, but she tried her best to get me into the country. So sometimes people run into problems not of their own making. We have a case of a young man who was arrested during the crackdown on opioids in the US, and he was a pharmacist, and he comes from Vihiga, that young man. I'm sure you know of that case. And all we want is that when things go wrong like that, there has to be some legal support from your country. As in, we've seen other people, when there's a crisis in southern Lebanon, their countries are very fast to evacuate them from there. Now for us, Kenya, honestly, Honorable CS, our citizens out there don't feel like their country is always going to be there. Immediately they fall into problems. It took a lot of time for us to get our people out of south of Lebanon, and you know it. You cannot compare the speeds with other countries. Now, just on this question of clarity, in fact, your ministry has issued a statement today, apparently disowning your friends from the RSF. Honorable CS, whereas it is wrong for us as Kenyans to go to other countries and commit crimes, why do we allow other people to commit crimes in our jurisdiction? The question of the RSF holding a meeting in the heart of the city here at KICC, claiming to be forming a parallel government, that's not something that should happen. It's similar to what you allowed to happen with M23. And then people who are just here for, they have come to visit us, like my friends Besije. Those are the ones you go for quickly and return them to Uganda. It doesn't present a very good picture on what we are as a people. We should be a safe haven. We should not allow people who are involved in conflict in their own countries to be holding press conferences here. I doubt that I would finish a press conference speaking in Uganda, for instance, about forming a parallel government anywhere else. So that clarity is also something that we want to hear from you. When did these RSF people stop being our friends? I've seen you have abandoned them today.
I think what I want to say is that Kenya's role in mediation and peacekeeping is not new. It's historical. And we can go back to moments when Jomo Kenyatta was the one bringing different factions of Angola to Kenya, and in fact their peace process started in Nakuru. So I really feel sad that you got that kind of treatment. But we'll try and understand the circumstances through diplomatic channels as to why you had to undergo that particular misfortune. Now, Kenya helps to provide a platform for various countries for people to talk. South Sudan, they have different factions. They have many peace efforts taking place in Nairobi. Mediation of different factions, different political groups. And Kenya has always offered that opportunity. In fact, you will recall that South Sudan began its journey here in Nairobi by different factions coming here and talking until they got their independence. When we look at the DRC, and you'll be familiar with the Luanda process, the Nairobi process, that terminology, which is now merged into one process. Heads of state of the East African Community and SADC came together in a summit and they said, let us have one forum so that we avoid forum shopping of people cherry picking which meeting to go to and which one not to go to. It delays the peace process. You will find that the Luanda process was designed led by the president of Angola to broker the peace process between DRC and Rwanda, to bring dialogue between the two states, interstate. Then President Uhuru is leading the Nairobi process, which was to bring inter-Congolese dialogue, including the M23. So all the various factions in DRC, they fall under the Nairobi process. And these are processes acknowledged and recognized by the African Union. So Kenya talking to these people was not in breach. In fact, they will have to talk, because we are seeing interventions which are good. Anything that calls for ceasefire and we manage to achieve ceasefire, whether it is coming from the Middle East or whether it's coming from other quarters, is okay. But the long-term sustainability of the DRC will require deeper dialogue to go to the root causes. And this deeper dialogue will have to bring together a conversation of all these parties, M23 included. And that has been Kenya's position. It was not about interfering with another country. We don't even have a common border in between. So there's no way we can have any direct intervention that is that is inimical to those other countries. The same thing holds for the RSF. We have made it very clear that first, no parallel government was formed in Nairobi at all. We have gone public on this, and we have said that the challenge in Sudan will not be solved through a military process where one annihilates the other. It will be difficult. For 3 years, that is the approach that has been taken, and for 3 years, Sudan continues to suffer. So Kenya's position has been that bring the parties to the table. Let them be brought to the table. And by them coming here was to get them to talk. The Jeddah process, which was in Saudi, was convened to bring together both the RSF and and the SAF. So it's not about us interfering, it's us saying, let people dialogue. But no government, no parallel government was formed in Nairobi.
Thank you, CS. I think we have come to the end of this meeting. Maybe we'll give senators an opportunity to give a closing remark. Do you have anything to say in closing? Senator Mgeni?
I think on behalf of the senators, just to thank the CS for finding time to interact with us. This is the first time I'm serving in this committee, Security Foreign Relations. So we look forward to a good, hearty working relationship. I think there are a number of issues we have raised that you will go back and look at with your technical staff. So we hope that we will have further engagements purely for the benefit of the people that you serve and we serve. Thank you.
Senator Sifuna?
Yeah, Chair, thank you. Certainly illuminating conversation, and I'm hoping that we'll have more of these conversations and just to get to know where we stand as a nation in the community of nations. Interestingly, now I'm starting to ask myself whether I should be asking the ministry where I can and cannot travel. Because, Chair, you know, we have our own individual relationships, our moral convictions. I found myself as an election observer in Somaliland. There was a lot of noise. I didn't understand what the noise was for, because I know there's an embassy for Somaliland here in Kenya, in Nairobi, in my county. So I thought that the official position of a country was to recognize. Apparently there's all sorts of complications. So maybe there should be a list of places that has an elected representative of the people. I should know where I can go and where I cannot go. But I'm hoping that these conversations will continue to illuminate. And CS, many of us, you know, are more morally convicted than commercially convicted. I'm not saying that it is not strategic to have relationships with some of these countries, but it is difficult for you to convince me that they are the only ones who can do those things. And by the way, they're not doing them for free. We will pay for those things. And so when those conversations are there, even though you don't want to offend friends who are helping you to do certain things, you can also just be ambiguous about that relationship. I can guarantee you, the people who approach these issues from a moral perspective, given the history of this country, are more than you think. And maybe you should, one of these days, put that questions to Kenyans, and they'll surprise you.
Thank you, Senator Sifuna. CS, your closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. All I can say is that I think this was a very good interaction. I look forward to more of this nature. So that we can work together on critical areas. We may not always agree, but it is important that we have these conversations often. But I want to assure you that Kenya's foreign policy is designed to be in the interest of the Kenyan people. And that is why we have gone a notch higher by actually presenting and getting Parliament to the National Assembly to have a sessional paper on Kenya's foreign policy. We have never actually had a sessional paper on Kenya's foreign policy. What has been foreign policy has been largely a document within the executive. This time we are saying, no, we cannot continue doing it that way. The people's representatives must have this, and they must have an opportunity to input into that policy. And public participation was undertaken by the Committee of the National Assembly on some of the questions that we have touched on today. But I really want to appreciate the very positive concerns of this committee. It shows that we are for the same objective, a prosperous Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are closing now. We really appreciate your coming. CS. We have taken a bit of time to have this kind of interaction, but nevertheless today, some of us, we say God's time is the best time. Maybe one concern is especially the one you have said and Senator Sifuna has raised on the countries that we are required to visit. If you can communicate to Parliament, it will be important so that when members plan for these trips, they know where to go and where not to go. Just to avoid some embarrassment is really very important. So that communication is really key. On Toposa and Turkana, I think we'll communicate with you because it's between you, KDF, and also Interior. It's a matter that we can have a joint sitting so that we can iron out. On the statements that are outstanding, we will officially write to you and attach the statement so that we can have a quick response. But otherwise, we say thank you very much for coming. We should be able to continue working together and protect the interests of Kenyans, both locally and also abroad. Thank you very much. We now close our meeting. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you very much. CS, contact person. In the event that we can't get you, that has been a challenge. Sorry, I'm reminded by our clerk. Yeah.
Apart from we have our two PSs here. I mean, Aurora Rono, and also, but matters foreign affairs. It should be the PS foreign affairs and the officers are assigned. Yeah.